How's it going, everyone? So today we're going to be focusing on what is Jiu-Jitsu sparring, how should I start Jiu-Jitsu rolling, what does that even mean, and some mindsets that we should have while starting to spar. So with that, we're going to get started right now. Chasen. I'm a Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and I've been training now for over 12 years, and I'm a weekly teacher. I teach on a weekly basis. So this is my YouTube channel, so if you like all things Jiu-Jitsu, this is a great resource for you guys. I do sparring breakdowns, I post different techniques, and I do Jiu-Jitsu talks like this one. So make sure you give this video a like and subscribe down below. And I would love to hear from you guys if you have any questions or comments. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about Jiu-Jitsu sparring and some mindsets and thought processes I should have whenever I start Jiu-Jitsu rolling. So with this, I've broken this down into 4 real categories. And I did this because I wanted to make it simple. It gets way more complex than this, but essentially there's 4 core phases or mindsets we should have while sparring, especially if you're a white belt. Now, these phases can be adapted and modified even if I'm an upper belt, but I'm going to be talking today from a perspective of a white belt and a brand new person who's not very experienced at rolling or is maybe having a harder time when rolling. So these 4 phases follow in this order typically as well too. Number 1 is completion. Number 2 is observation. Number 3 is management. And then number 4 is offensive or attacking. We're gonna keep it simple and keep it in those 4 phases. There's a lot more complex details to it, but let's make it simple. So phase number 1 is completion. And like I said, we're talking about this from a white belt's perspective, not necessarily a blue belt or a black belt or anyone who's more advanced. So white belt, what you should focus on is just completing a Jiu-Jitsu sparring round, right? So Jiu-Jitsu sparring or rolling is when 2 people, typically 2 training partners, get together and then they start trying out techniques, and they start with resistance. So one person is trying to stop the other person from performing the technique, and then the other one's trying to do the same thing to that person as well too. Now typically whenever you start this rolling process, one person is better than you and you feel like that you have no advantage at all. And that's fairly normal, don't worry, that's okay. But with that, a lot of times people don't even make it to the end of a Jiu-Jitsu round. They exhaust all of their energy because they try to skip to phase 4, the offensive or attacking phase, and they've skipped all the other phases in between. When you go in to try to start your Jiu-Jitsu journey and you start sparring for the first time, you should really focus on the mindset of just completing the round and being more defensive. The reason why I suggest being more defensive in the beginning is because it's more energy conservative, and you can typically last the entire Jiu-Jitsu round by playing defense and just working and surviving and playing good bottom position and just trying not to get tapped as many times. Now, you're still going to get tapped, you're still going to feel like you're going to get dominated, but if you make it to the end of the round without throwing up and you can go another round with a little bit of a break, that's successful. So don't make the end goal too hard of trying to tap a black belt or a brown belt or a blue belt the first time you roll with them. Make it just to survive the end of the round. You have to complete the drill. So now let's go on to phase number 2. Phase number 2 is observation. So as you get better at completing each round, you're going to get more mat time underneath your belt. As you get better at that and being more energy efficient and defensive, you'll start seeing these little windows of opportunity that you can either start to escape or start to attack yourself. So, but you have to be open-minded and looking for these windows. If you don't look for these windows, then they're gonna fly right by you. Now, obviously, the more knowledge you have, the more easy it is to identify these windows and knowing what to do. But if you're not even looking for them, if you're just trying to skip once again to phase 4 of just trying to attack, you may have missed all of the other windows of opportunity of escapes and controls and everything else that comes before that phase 4. So really look for the windows of opportunity. Another little tip to find those windows to help your learning curve is when you're at the end of a spar, especially if you're rolling with an upper belt, and you didn't see any, you couldn't identify any mount escapes. Let's say you're on the bottom of the mount, you couldn't identify any of them, Ask your training partner, ask them, hey, where would have been my best opportunity to escape here? Would it have been when you done this, or when you went for this submission, or whenever you moved your hips this way? What would have been the best opportunity to try to get out, or what should I have done? If you ask those strategic questions and make your questions smart as opposed to I'm just stuck, I don't know what to do, but make them very intelligent, it will really help your learning curve. But you have to think about it from that perspective. You have to you almost have to help your training partner help you. They need to know what you need the answer to, and they can typically provide you the answer. Phase number 3, management. So management comes from when you have mastered the completion phase and you've mastered the observation phase, because typically in the observation phase, if you're new and a white belt, you're going to be just looking for opportunities to escape. Typically when you escape, that leads you to better position. You're maybe wind up on top, or maybe you're in the bottom of the guard, or maybe you even escape to someone's back. So now what you need to focus on is managing those positions. Don't go to phase 4 and start throwing up submissions right away. That's going to leave a lot of windows of opportunity for them to start to escape, because they're doing the same thing that you are. So make sure if you even escape the bottom of the mount, let's say you do like an elbow escape, you get to the bottom of the mount, and now, you escape from the bottom of the mount, and now you get to the guard, you need to control that guard position. Try not to let them posture right away. Don't let them escape or pass your guard right away. Try to control the guard position, control them, and then once you maybe have them controlled enough, then that's when we can move on to phase 4. Phase 4 is offensive or attacking. But with phase 4, you need to make sure you've done a good job at the other 3 phases first. If you just go straight to attacking phase as a white belt, it's going to be hard for you to complete the round. You're probably going to miss a lot of windows, and then you're probably going to get submitted and managed pretty good. So the last phase you should really be worried about is submitting people or trying submissions or throwing up a bunch of offense. I hear all the time that white belts get very upset or frustrated that they can't ever mount any kind of offense on anybody, and that's because they almost are trying too hard. They need to switch, in my opinion, you need to switch your perspective to just surviving and completing the round and being tapped as little as you can, especially when you're rolling with an upper belt. As you get more mat time underneath and you start sparring with people who you're better than, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to mount a sufficient offense if you follow these steps. So even myself, I spend some of the least amount of time in my own training in that last phase of attack and offensive. I do a lot of trying to control and manage the positions and being able to survive enough. I do a lot of that myself. I just change the perspective a little bit. I just will put myself in submissions, or I'll put myself in bad positions, and I look for the windows of opportunities to try to escape, even with an upper belt. So these phases and principles can be applied all the way up to black belt, but as a white belt, you should make it simple, right? So let's go through those again. Completion, complete the round, survive long enough to finish the round, just make it through the end. So if you're doing 3 5-minute rounds, that's 15 minutes. That's a lot for a new person. Just try to survive the round. I don't care if you get beat up or you get tapped 80 times, survive, make it to the end. Figure out a way to control yourself enough to do that. Phase number 2, observe. Look for those little windows. Even if you don't even execute at those little windows, but you identified them, that's a huge step to your progression. So make sure you're looking for these little windows of opportunities to escape or to get out or to defend. Just look for your opportunities that may benefit you. Phase number 3, management. If you do find a way to escape or get out or control the position or get on top, control it. Really focus on the control. Don't let the person get out. Even if they're trying to get out, try everything you can to maintain the position. Don't let it go. Control, control, control. And then last but not least, attack and offensive, which is kind of what I think all of us come to Jiu-Jitsu for, is because we see all the cool arm locks and chokes, but really it's the last thing that comes. So don't put too much emphasis on training that last phase in the beginning. Just try to do all the other phases, and the submissions will come with time. Hopefully this video helped you guys out, gave you some ideas and mindsets you should have while training. These are things that I tell my students on a daily basis. So I really hope this helped you guys out. Make sure in the comments below, you guys let me know what you think. If you agree with these, if you disagree with these, if you have anything to add, some things that maybe you found struggling or hard, right? So put anything in there that you want. Also, quick little plug, if you guys like podcasts and if you're a follower of my channel, I just recently launched a new podcast called the Chasen Life Podcast. You can find it where all podcasts are offered, Apple, Spotify, all those good places. So I just did my first episode. We did a lot of jiu-jitsu talk, a little bit longer form. So if you like that kind of stuff, make sure you check that out. Also, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe again. I appreciate you guys watching this video to the end. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.